Alrighty, so you are watching this video because you were absent on this particular day, this particular Monday, and this is an important moment because this is the start of your very final project in Art 1 with me. So in honor of it being the beginning of your last project, I had written everybody a personal letter and they got lollipops. So if you missed that Monday, don't worry, I have a letter for you and you can get a lollipop. So make sure to remind me to give you one because I have one for you. Alrighty, so because you were absent this particular day, if you want to do the Draw a Balloon Dog warm-up, you are welcome to, but just remember that I'm perfectly fine with you writing the word absent. All right, so we're going to get started. So what we did today is we practiced drawing hands in our sketchbook and with a laminated photo of a hand, and we talked about breaking down the images. I'm going to show you how to do that virtually at home so that way you can participate in the activity. So the first thing I had my students do was in their sketchbook, they had 2 minutes to just draw their hand with just keeping in mind details, proportion, and accuracy. And I had to remind them to not be funny and take it seriously, so they weren't allowed to trace their hand because I had some kids ask. So no, you cannot draw, or I mean, you cannot trace your hand. So go ahead, pause the video. You can take the full 2 minutes, or if you're a quick, speedy drawer, you can use less time, but I want you to go ahead and actually genuinely practice drawing your hand. Alright, so I showed them this video of a YouTuber very quickly kind of going over how to break down a hand into simple shapes, geometric shapes. So feel free to, watch this video if you so choose, but I'm going to just kind of go ahead and skip along. Maybe. All right. So in order to break down a hand into simple shapes, you need to consider the muscular structure of your hand. So obviously there are knuckles in our hands. So this is my favorite photo of all the photos on here because it breaks down each of the part of the finger between where the knuckle is and next part of the finger, or knuckle to knuckle. It has a shape. And this one in particular has the thumb kind of overlapping. So this is its thumb right here. This one's a little bit more simple. But I like how you can tell the proportions. So typically everyone's middle finger is just a little bit longer than all their other fingers, not by much. So it's always good to check the proportions and to get a good idea of where everything is essentially located to one another. And down here, this is a very quick overview of kind of, again, how to break down hands into simple shapes, but then also taking into consideration the proportions. So particularly in this photo, you can see how they have the thumb guideline, right, going just a tad bit above where all of the fingers are starting to come out of the hand. So if you see right here, that's like the tip of the thumb, and this is where that guideline is, and this is where all the fingers start. Your thumb goes about to halfway through that first part of the fingers, not quite reaching the knuckles just yet. And of course, everybody has different size hands, but proportions pretty much remain the same. But it also depends on your perspective and what angle you are at. So some people might think, oh my gosh, my thumb, it's not that low. My thumb is like a lot taller than, this picture says. So refer to your own hand. It's the best reference photo. But then also consider, again, looking up other photos of hands, weirdly taking pictures of your hands to get different angles and refer to them from your phone so you can zoom in and stuff. But just, again, proportions and breaking down simple shapes is going to be super duper key, okay? So I went ahead and I actually broke down this image via Google Drawings, which is the exact same thing that we did when we did our digital mosaics. So this is an example of just I typed in hand and I went ahead and I broke down this image into general shapes and essentially kind of guidelines. So you can tell, because this is a bit of a different angle, that I have some different shapes that I need to kind of consider. But typically where I have circles or like ovals, for the most part, that is either a curvature part of this hand. It's knuckles though. It'll always be some type of knuckle. And then you want to consider just chunkier parts. So like this part is more of a rectangle. Each part, again, like I said before, from like knuckle to knuckle or to the end of a finger, that's essentially just going to be like more of a rectangle shape, essentially. Of course, this is not how the hand looks, but this is just a quick guide. So after you have done this, you can kind of go back and fine tune all the lines, erase these guidelines, but this helps with proportion big time. So just jumping into a hand drawing and not really taking consideration the shapes that you see, really analyzing where the knuckles are, where the fingers fall, even fingernails. I personally don't kind of sketch out where fingernails are, like as you can see here. But I mean, feel free to break down the image as detailed as you so choose. But this is essential part of how to do hand drawings, is breaking it down. Okay, so obviously you can't do this because you are at home, but like I said, what you can do is essentially what I did on the last slide, is you can go to Google Draw and break down an image. So I'm going to kind of skip along. So basically after that, what we did is I had them work on their sketchbooks to just draw hands. But we were looking at sign language because the hand poses in so many different forms in sign language. So it's great reference photos and a great idea to look for sign language, because that is essentially just all hands. So feel free to do this in some spare time, because this will get you some extra practice. But I'm going to go ahead and kind of exit out of the screen. And, oh my goodness, I think I exited out of it. Hold on. It is right here. All right, so like I said, I did this in Google Draw. So remember, you'll open it up, you'll have like the checkerboard, because it's not a digital mosaic and a grade or anything like that for right now. You don't have to worry about you don't have to worry about making the background black. Just go to insert and then image and then just type up a hand. Okay? And then once you've inserted it, that's when you'll break down the shape. So we know how to do polylines, right? And I did polylines for a good chunk of these shapes. But I also just went to regular shape and I found circles. And I just traced over general circular areas to get those shapes. And if you look really closely, it's kind of obvious, I didn't get perfectly on this particular hand. I just got the general shape. So I highly recommend that you take the time to at least do this with one hand. I made my students in class do this with several hands, but this is a digital way to do what we did in class and be the utmost prepared for your longest, most difficult, challenging final project of the year. So don't get slacking, get practicing. Okie dokie. So if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to ask. And yeah, that's all I got for you.